Welcome to Ready, Set, Sold with your host, Bryan Vogt. Are you wanting or even thinking about selling your house but don't know where to start? Good thing you found Ready, Set, Sold. And now, real estate broker, Bryan Vogt.
Welcome to Ready, Set, Sold. I am your host, Bryan Vogt. How are you doing? Happy Saturday. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. I know I am. Mainly, quite frankly, it's business related. The spring market has sprung. And yes, I know spring doesn't happen until about 3 or 4 weeks down the road, but the market has been amazing. If you're even considering, even thinking about selling your home, if you have friends that are just mentioned it to you, family members, neighbors, whoever, this is the time to get your house on the market now. We have not seen this type of market in years, in particularly the Metro East area. I'm talking about O'Fallon, Shiloh, Swansea, Edwardsville, Columbia, Skyforce Base area, Mascoutah. I mean, the list goes on and on. We just haven't seen this, and many sellers that even if you tried to put your house on the market last year, maybe you just went off the market in November or December. You've heard me talk on the show many times before. 3 months can make a big difference. Sometimes 2 months is 50-50. Things can change in 1 month. Well, right now we're in a situation where we have that 2 month or that 3 month window that things have dramatically changed. So again, if you're considering, even thinking about selling, give us a call. Hopefully your agent has already talked to you about this, has given out the good news. If they haven't, well, again, maybe they're not aware of what's going on in the market, and that may not be the agent that you want to use. So you can always contact us at Bryan, B-R-Y, Vogt, VOGT.com anytime, and we'll get back with you and get you going and getting your house on the market. With that said, let me dive into our expert today, and our expert has 40 years plus of experience. He started when he was 3. He was a child prodigy in insurance. Right, Joe?
Right, absolutely.
I'm speaking, of course, with Joe Harnist, who's the president of Harnist Insurance Company, and he's here to talk about something else that's going on in the springtime, and that is simply the weather we have in our area can be just crazy. I mean, and Joe, that has an effect on insurance, selling of homes. Tell us more.
Yeah, Bryan, it's always a fun time of year for insurance agents is in the spring, because we always look forward to the storms and the wind and the hail and those type of things. But just kind of a preparedness issue. We like to talk to people about, with the heavy rains that we've had lately, make sure your gutters and your downspouts are cleaned out, and you want to keep that water away from your foundation so that you don't have problems in your basement or your crawl space. Check your sump pumps, make sure they're operating properly, make sure all the connections are good on the pipes leading out. We actually had, with the recent rains, we actually had 2 issues with different clients on backups. One where the pipe leading outside actually separated, and the sump pump was pumping the water back into the basement. So that was pretty exciting for them. But yeah, and luckily, and actually, not luckily, it's something we always recommend is adding sewer backup coverage onto a homeowner's policy. It doesn't come with that when you buy just a basic policy. It has to be put on there by endorsement. And you can buy different levels of coverage, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, on up, depending on what your needs are. Whether you have a finished basement or you don't have a finished basement, you may need to just have enough coverage on there to cover your furnace and your water heater. Because you got to figure, if your furnace and your water heater's in your basement and you have a sewer backup and it gets deep enough to get into the furnace and water heater, well, they're shot. So you're going to have to replace them. So you're going to need that coverage. So even though you say, well, I don't have a finished basement, why do I need sewer backup? If it backs up, it'll drain out, or I'll just pump it out and it'll be fine. Well, you've still got stuff down there that can get damaged, and if you're storing things down there, the personal property can get damaged as well. So,
and it's just not a good thing. I mean, we've just to kind of break in there, speaking with Joe Harnist, president of Harnist Insurance, and you brought up a couple of points that maybe we want to go back to that I think are important. Number one, even if it's unfinished, and we've known of a situation where a seller put their house on the market. Doesn't happen every day, but that situation came up to play. And quite frankly, I don't think people, hopefully they did not experience it, but the smell that comes out of there is not a good thing. So you mentioned unfinished basements. I think that's important. Whether or not you have your storage areas wherever they're at, I think that's important. So that's a great point on your part, because it's not, and Joe, you know this better than I mean, those are not fun things. This is actually sewage coming back to you.
Right. Yeah, it's backing up out of the sewer line that's in your basement, or usually the sump pump, if that overflows, that's fresh water because that's just pumping groundwater out so it doesn't seep into your basement. But if you actually have a physical backup through the sewer system, yeah, that is raw sewage. And either way, water is a bad thing on houses. You get the mold and the mildew and all that can develop within a day or two, depending on the temperature and everything else. So, and that's something we do. We work very closely with restoration companies, and we get them on the site as quickly as possible to try to remediate, that mold and everything, and get the dehumidifiers going and the blowers and get everything dried out, pull the carpet back, rip out the padding. There's all kinds of things that they do, but you got to get on that quickly, otherwise you're going to have more issues than you really want to deal with. So,
I think the point too is and just to follow up on that, Joe, is that luckily we've not had it happen, but I've heard stories in the past. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen where people have listed their home, and that problem did happen, and so now they don't have that type of coverage. And they have a finished basement, and now we're talking buku monies, and that can create real problems. So I think that needs to be pointed out. And I think the other part, though, that I like to kind of follow up on, if I could, is we get this question all the time when we're listing a house. And on the Illinois residential property disclosure, it has on there, are you in a floodplain? Okay? So maybe you talk to our listeners, what exactly is a floodplain or what have you? How do they know? We usually have a pretty good idea, but give us your expert opinion on how do sellers know if they basically have flood insurance or not.
Normally, if they're going to have a mortgage, the mortgage company is going to demand the flood insurance coverage on there. If you're in a hazard zone, flood hazard zone, they're most likely going to require that you have flood coverage. You can buy flood coverage no matter where you live. There's a preferred program, and it's reasonably inexpensive, because you have to realize that just because you don't live by a river or near a lake or anything, that there's going to be an issue with flood, because flood can be from water from any source. It doesn't have to come from a lake or a creek. It could be all the storm drains in the street are all clogged up with leaves, and we have a torrential downpour. I think they had 10 inches somewhere in the country the other day, 10 inches of rain. And if all the storm drains are plugged up from debris, and that water builds up and starts flooding and starts pouring through your basement windows and things, that could possibly be a flood issue, even though you don't live in a hazard zone. So
that's an excellent point. So I guess my question would be is people have to take there's another policy or something. So if it's not something that they're paying separately, that's how they would know for sure that they do or don't have the flood insurance.
Right. Yeah, the flood insurance is actually written through the National Flood Insurance Program, and it is written as a separate policy from your homeowners. You cannot add flood coverage on your homeowner's policy as an endorsement. per se. It's written on a separate policy. So.
Awesome. Hey, we're running out of time for this segment. I've been talking with Joe Harnist, the president of Harnist Insurance, 40 years of experience, not only a good friend, but just a great agent that knows his stuff. We're going to be coming back and talking more with Joe about insurance and how that affects not only the home sale or the home buyers. While we have a little bit more time, I would just want to let you know that the book that I wrote, Ready, Set, Sold, 12 Proven Steps to Get Your Home Sold with Top Dollar and Fast Sale, is available. If you go to ReadySetSold.org, not .com, ReadySetSold.org, not .com, pick up the book. Again, this spring market is going to be, well, it already is amazing, but it's going to get even better. So if you need that information, which many people do, they love it. It's worked out for so many people. Go to ReadySetSold.org, not .com, pick up the book right now. We'll be back in a few.